Alright guys, how's it going? Welcome back. Are you in the market for a small compact saloon car, but you don't fancy a 3 Series, an A4, a Lexus IS, a C-Class, a Kia Optima, a Mazda 6, a Alfa Giulia? The list is endless, isn't it? But if you want something a little bit different, then you might be interested in today's video, because today I'm in a 2016 Infiniti Q50. Quite a rare car here in the UK. Before we get onto the car itself, I think we need some background information. If you've never heard of Infiniti, don't feel bad because lots of people in Europe haven't. That's been the brand's biggest issue. Infiniti are the luxury arm of Nissan, just like Lexus is to Toyota. About 12 or 13 years ago, Infiniti tried to break into the very lucrative European market, but it wasn't a fruitful conquest. Just as they entered adolescence, they realised it wasn't working, so they stormed off in a teenager-style huff, slamming the bedroom door behind them, probably. As far as I can work out, and this is heavily based on my opinion rather than fact, Infiniti failed in the UK for one main reason. We are a nation of badge snobs. We're just too superficial. I'm using the royal we there rather than me personally. I just think nobody wants to spend £35,000 on a new luxury car and then not impress anyone by it. Sad, I know, but true. Generally speaking, if we spend thousands of pounds on a new luxury car, we want the neighbours' net curtains to twitch. We want to impress people in the pub car park as we drive in. We want to impress people that we don't like. You don't want to say to somebody in the pub, "Oh yeah, I've just bought a new Infiniti," and them say, "A what? I've never heard of him." And then your only retort is something like, "Well, it's like a Japanese BMW," or, "Well, it's got a Mercedes engine." It's just not what people want. Whereas everybody knows, even if you're a blithering idiot, that a kidney grille or a 3-pointed star comes with a big price tag. Your average Brit just doesn't recognise the Infiniti badge, and that's the problem. And this is a fact that I think Infiniti just failed to recognise. They should have perhaps started with how it was marketed, because I don't recall ever seeing an advert for Infiniti. I don't ever recall seeing David Beckham driving one on the cover of Heat magazine, and this has been the problem. I'm not a marketing expert by any stretch, but this is fairly basic stuff. I mean, Audi did it successfully a few years ago. Here's how you're supposed to do it. 1, you step up your marketing campaign in upmarket areas, in-flight magazines on BA flights, places like that. The next thing you do is give a load of highly spec'd, sporty-looking Infinitis to a bunch of celebrities and have them drive around and get papped in it. And then when you or I see Harry Styles behind the wheel of an Infiniti, we think, it must be good then if he's bought one with his own money. That's just how it works. I know this, and I don't have a PhD in marketing, so why didn't Infiniti? Anyway, they didn't do that. Instead, they wasted a heap of money and then left with the tail between their legs. When launching a new upmarket car brand, you've got to either go big or go home. And Infiniti just went home. Every time I went to an Infiniti showroom, which were really nice by the way and upmarket, it was like the Marie Celeste. There was nobody there. There were more people in Chernobyl. Another reason I believe it didn't catch on was the model names. I'm a complete car geek, so I can tell different model years based on the subtle differences on indicator lenses and other nonsense like that. But even I can't get my head around the Infiniti model range. The Q, the I, the J, the EX, the FX, the QX, the G. It's a good job they left before they got to the LMNOP or the XYZ. Then that letter is followed by an arbitrary number, which seems to have no correlation to the engine size under the bonnet. It just doesn't make any sense, it's confusing. And again, in the UK, we know the difference between an SE and an HSE, an LX and a GLX. This is important stuff here in the UK, and once again, Infiniti just didn't get the memo. Anyway, onto the Q50 that I'm in today, which doesn't have a 5-litre engine as the name might suggest. But firstly, I've got to say, it's a shame they didn't sell more of these because they're really good cars. Genuinely, I'm impressed with it. It's the size of a 3 Series, it looks good, drives good, feels good. It should have been a roaring success. Styling wise, I think it looks nice. I know styling is a matter of opinion, isn't it? Beauty's in the eye of the key holder. That said, I think it's fairly inoffensive, and I think that's kind of the problem. It's not daring enough. It's not risky enough. It's a little bit generic. It almost looks like a Chinese car, like a Chinese copy. You know when you see them at car shows and it's a blatant rip-off of something else? It's a little bit like that. If you have an Infiniti on your driveway, your neighbours won't be able to tell whether it's a Kia, Hyundai, Mazda, Lexus. There's just nothing really that sticks out. I like the rear end with its twin exhaust, that's a good angle. I don't like the front end, it looks a little bit droopy and saggy. It looks like a German car that's had a stroke. I think the windows are too tall because from the side profile it looks a little bit too top heavy, which doesn't look very sporty. I think narrow windows would have made it feel and look a little bit sportier. But I think the interior is where it really excels. I don't want to use the word exquisite because that should be just reserved for Bentley and Rolls-Royce, but it's lovely. It really is very nice. Everything is finished with soft leather, even down to the column-mounted gear levers. They're finished in nice soft leather. Everywhere you look or touch is just finished really well. It also passes the all-important High Peak Auto's cup holder test. All the buttons and switches feel nice. The dials here are knurled like you'd find in a Bentley. It's just really pleasant, really upmarket. The steering feels nice to touch. Nice and padded and feels expensive. If you look around, there are some Nissan buttons and switches. The gauges are lifted straight from a Qashqai, but that isn't the end of the world. This is a high-spec sport model, so it comes with bigger wheels, which look nicer. But it also comes with every conceivable extra. So I've got Bose audio, I've got sat-nav, reverse camera, 360 bird's eye view camera, heated seats. You've got electric everything. It's really well turned out. The seats are really comfortable too. It's like being sat in a Lexus or a Volvo. One thing I don't like about it though is this twin screen setup, which can be a little bit confusing. Although I think if this was your only car, you'd soon figure it out. Some of the things that you would expect to be controlled down here are actually controlled up there, and then vice versa, so it just means you've got to work look twice as hard. There is quite a bit of engine noise. It's reminiscent of a C-Class or E-Class Mercedes, but overall it just feels modern and luxurious. The ride's good too, it's not too firm. If you were to blindfold me, which would be quite dangerous, I would guess that I was in a Lexus with a Mercedes engine. That's what it feels like, which is no bad thing. Because this is badged as a 2.2D, I thought under the bonnet would be the 2.2 litre French engine that was found in the X-Trail and other Nissans from the period. But it's not. It's a 2.1 litre Mercedes engine. It's a 4-cylinder turbo diesel unit which produces about 170 horsepower, which is pretty good. It's torquey enough, it's smooth enough. Like I say, there is a little bit of engine noise, but that's just a characteristic. They also offered this with a big V6 petrol engine, which I think even fewer people bought. I've not looked up the actual sales figures for that V6 petrol, but I imagine the number is 5. To drive, it feels like the love child of a Lexus IS and a Mercedes C-Class. The seats are comfortable, it drives well, the steering's not too heavy, it's not too light. It does everything pretty well. If I did lots of miles and I needed a compact little saloon car that was economical, I'd definitely consider one of these. The boot's a good size too, it's on par with its rivals, as is the rear legroom and headroom. Interior space in general is pretty good. It's all just very nice and pleasant. Because Infiniti have pulled the plug on their European operations, you might panic about getting spare parts, but I wouldn't give it a second thought because there are lots of companies that still manufacture parts for this, so parts aren't an issue whatsoever. Also, any Nissan dealer will still service them, as will any independent, to be fair. I wouldn't worry about reliability either because all the reports are favourable. The engine and gearbox are tried and tested, so I wouldn't worry about those either. As long as you keep up with the servicing, they should last you. Because it's a small diesel engine, running costs are low too. So road tax here in the UK, even for the automatic model, is only £125 a year. You'll easily achieve 40 miles per gallon around town. You'll get up to 60 miles per gallon on a motorway run. So yeah, pretty cheap to run. And let's be honest, they're the same sort of figures that you're going to get from any 3 Series or A4 or XE. They're all about the same, because they have to be. Since they fled the UK, used prices have taken a bit of a tumble, in the same way that the stock market on Wall Street took a little bit of a tumble in 1929. The backside has just dropped out of the UK prices of these Q50s, so you can pick up early, lower spec models with higher miles from as little as £7,000, which is such good value. It does make buying one of these a very tempting proposition. Even a nice high-spec sport model like this can be bought for under £10,000, which is about 50% cheaper than any of its equivalent rivals. I just think they're such good value they can no longer be ignored. So to answer the video's title question, should you buy an Infiniti Q50? As a new car, absolutely not. No way. Well, you can't now anyway because they're all shut. But as a used car, 100% definitely yes. As a new car, I would have bought the 3 Series or the IS or the XE. But as a used car, they're very tempting. And I think if you're half interested in buying one of these cars, go and take a seat in one because you will immediately get your checkbook out. I mean, think of it like this. Would you buy a 2012 or 2013 old-shaped Mercedes C-Class or this 2016 Infiniti? It's a no-brainer. So basically that sums up the Infiniti Q50. A very impressive car that ultimately nobody knew about, all because they didn't give one to Joey Essex. It's tragic that we're that superficial, but what can you do? And on the bright side, Infiniti's loss is now your gain. So thanks once again for watching. Make sure you give the video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't done already. We're nearly at 60,000 subscribers, which is unbelievable, so thank you to each and every one of you who has subscribed. You can follow me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. I'll leave the link below. If you've got any comments or questions, let me know, and I'll do my best to get back to you. So yeah, cheers guys, thanks for watching. See you next time.